What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation, and we're going live tonight. We're going live tonight, and I always love talking to my subscribers and to my listeners and everything. If you're not familiar with this channel, I teach you how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, how to build generational wealth, and how to financially emancipate yourself from generational poverty. And this is a live Q&A. By all means, if you have any financial questions that you would like to ask or any type of advice you want in regards to how to essentially build your generational wealth, I'm your boy. I'm here, and I'm here to talk to you about that kind of stuff. Okay. So tonight, one of the things I wanted to talk about essentially are habits that I'm noticing from a lot of the people who I talk to, whether it's a financial one-on-one consultation session or whether it's just individuals who I run across at the gym or guys I hoop or play ball with, or honestly people just email me random questions and say, Chris, what are your thoughts about A, B, and C? So tonight, everybody, I want to essentially talk about financial habits essentially that are keeping you broke. All right. And the reason why I say that is this: like everything else in life, people, the more you are prepared for something and the more and more or less you know what the consequences are of the actions, generally speaking, the better concepts and ideas you're going to do to prevent negative outcomes from occurring. And conversely, the less you know or more ignorant you are about a respective subject, the more likely you are to make mistakes and to not get the actual outcomes that you want. So what I want to talk about today essentially is just different things that are keeping you essentially in poverty and that are preventing you from building generational wealth. So the first financial habit, everybody, that I find that keeps most people broke is analysis by paralysis. So back in the day and everything, I say back in the day, when I was a lot younger and everything, and I played high school basketball, ran high school track football, and the whole nine. One of the things that I noticed was that a lot of times you could take an individual and say, okay, this is how you throw a football. This is how you shoot a basketball. This is essentially how you do a crossover and everything. This is essentially how you do a triple jump. This is how you do a high jump. This is how you run the 400. So imagine you are a long jumper, right, in high school. And imagine that you read all the books, you lift all the weights, you do all the research, you watch all the YouTube channels, you watch all the YouTube videos, you go to the library, you talk to your coaches and everything. And the day of the race or the day of the track meet, when you get out there to actually perform, you just sit there and you just watch. So imagine you spend an entire year essentially training, you spend the entire year doing your research, you spend the entire year in nutrition, doing nutrition and dieting, but the day of the actual event, the day of the actual race, you literally show up, and when you get there, you just simply sit back and don't actually get ready to do the high jump. That's essentially, or the long jump. That's essentially what I would like to call analysis by paralysis, where you have done so much research on the thing. You've done your due diligence. You basically put in the work, you put in the hours to figure out how something actually works and how to, more importantly, how to do it correctly. But when the time comes for you to actually get up and perform, you don't do anything. You just kind of sit there and you keep reading books. A lot of times, everybody in the finance world, I find it works the exact same way, where essentially a person will sit back, they'll watch podcasts like Financipation, they'll listen to the corrector podcast, stuff like that. They will essentially do all their due diligence in regards to what they should be doing in order to get to the next step. But when it comes actually time to actually perform and to do what they should be doing, they don't do anything. And what a lot of times ends up happening is that it's analysis by paralysis, because if you have done your research on mutual funds, if you've done your research on index funds, if you've done your research on exchange traded funds, if you've done your research on real estate investment trusts, if you've done your research on how to start your businesses, on what LLC to start, if you've done your research on the pros and cons of irrevocable trust versus revocable trust, but you still sit back and you are waiting to be told what to do, you're not going to go anywhere. And this happens a lot of times with my entrepreneurs. This happens a lot of times with my investors, where they'll literally spend years researching things, but they never actually pull the proverbial trigger and actually move forward with what kind of business they want to start and how they want to invest. And I say this in all seriousness when it comes to investing. Literally, years of compound interest can be lost by hesitating. Now, I'm not saying you should get out there and basically invest your money in things that you don't understand. But what I am saying is this: at some point, after you've done all the research that you need to be doing, you need to get out there and you need to actually try to make it work, and you need to invest into something. Once again, everybody, it's your boy Chris. Please, my cash app is $CHRIS P485. Additionally, you can hit that super chat button right there. By all means, please support your content creators. Okay, please support your content creators. So, in regards to analysis by paralysis, that is the first sign that I find that is keeping people generally broke. Why? Because instead of actually making a decision and moving forward with something, they kind of sit back, they relax, and they chill. And once again, it's not about time. It's not about timing the market, as Warren Buffett said. It's about time in the market. In other words, it's not about trying to buy the dip, buy when it's high, sell when it's low, that kind of thing. It's not buying when it's low, selling when it's high. That's not what the stock market or investing is about. In reality, everybody, it's about slowly but surely investing into something that you understand, and doing that literally for decades on end. And if you do that, you will build generational wealth. Okay. The second financial habit I find that is keeping most people broke is listening to corporate media. I'm not the biggest fan of corporate media. My corporate media, I mean CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News. To me, Fox News is completely to the right. MSNBC is completely to the left, and CNN has some fictitious line where they're trying to be completely right down the middle. And to me, in general, I find a lot of it is entertainment, and a lot of it, honestly, is not keeping people informed about anything, whether it's politics, whether it's finance, and things of that nature. For what it's worth, I watch BBC and Al Jazeera. But what I mean in regards to corporate media, if you take a look at C-SPAN or Mad Money, or any type of corporate media um, podcast or talking head on CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, where they're talking about finance, they're not telling you financial advice is going to help you. They're telling you what their they're telling what their sponsors are paying them to tell you to say in regards to building wealth, in regards to what stocks to invest into, in regards to when to buy, when to sell. And a lot of it, for lack of a better word, is financial, I'll say corn. Okay. And I don't mean corn as in the food. I mean, exactly, put a P in there. Essentially, it's entertainment that's not going to do anything for you, and it's not going to help you financially. So as a result of that, if you watch Fox News, if you watch MSNBC, if you watch CNN, and you'll get so wrought up about Trump's tariffs, you get so wrought up about the war in Ukraine, you get so wrought up about immigration, you get so wrought up about so many different factors that before you get off, you literally have mentally exhausted yourself and physically exhausted yourself in regards to the amount of misinformation that's coming towards you, and especially when it comes to the finance world, because literally you watch one news channel and it'll tell you buy now, sell this, buy this, sell that. Then you watch another news channel, whether it's CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, or whoever, and it tell you to literally do the exact opposite thing of what the other channel told you to do. And this is by design, everybody, because it breeds confusion. So my personal advice is very simple. In regards to your habits of building generational wealth, you need to be very focused on what you have done the research on, and more importantly, ignore corporate media, ignore all this outside noise, ignore what your boy at church told you, ignore what your boy in the hood told you, ignore what your friend at church told you, ignore what your guy you lift weights and play basketball told you to do. You need to basically do your own research and invest in yourself and ignore the outside noise. Now, obviously, doing that is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world, because if you got 10 or 15 people telling you to do the exact same thing and you're not exactly sure whether or not you should listen to them, what do you do? The answer, everybody, is very simple: do your own research. I have over 450 videos on my podcast where I go into detail about different things that I know for a fact have been proven over the last 50 years to make you money. There are good things, there are things you can get into, there are bad things you can get into. But the point of the matter is this: when it comes to financial literacy and to building your generational wealth, everybody, you have to do your own research. And listening to a bunch of talking heads on CNN, listening to a bunch of talking heads on Fox News, and listening to a bunch of talking heads on MSNBC is generally not a good idea. What is a good idea, however, are reading books like Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. What is a good idea are reading books like Total Money Makeover by Tony Robbins. What is a good idea is taking a look at the statistical trends of gold, of precious metals, of index funds, of real estate investment trusts. From there, making an informed decision about how you should proceed in regards to investing. Another thing, too, I want you to keep in mind as well in regards to listening to the media. As I stated earlier, it is not their fiduciary responsibility to essentially make you money. Their fiduciary responsibility with a lot of these talking heads that you see on television is once again to literally sell you the products that their sponsors are telling them to tell you to buy. So they know for a fact that there is a better index fund out there for you. There's a better mutual fund out there for you. There's a better real estate investment trust out there for you. They're not telling you to essentially purchase that. They're telling you essentially to purchase what their sponsors are telling them to tell you. So as a result of that, do you really want to take advice from an individual who's being paid to tell you something? Or do you want to take that financial advice of yourself? Do your research, people. At the end of the day, no matter what somebody tells you, no matter what somebody says, no matter what talking head or corporate media type is telling you to do something, please ensure your children's future and do the research for yourself when it comes to your investing, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to when to buy, when to sell, and when it comes to what precious metals to possibly get into. Okay. So the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is thinking that hard work is essentially going to make you wealthy. So this is one of those things that kind of, in a certain way, kind of always has rubbed me the wrong way. Why is it that politicians make more than teachers? Why is it that garbage men make more than teachers? Why is it that professional athletes get paid the amount that they do? In regards to the professional athletes thing, that one I kind of understand for one very simple reason. It's a law of supply and demand. There are 8 billion people in the world, and there's less than a half a billion people that can dunk a basketball, proverbially. So, to some extent, I understand and literally hundreds of millions of people will literally pay money to watch Messi play soccer. So, the professional athletes aspect about it, it is what it is. But have you ever noticed though that some of the hardest working people do not make the most money? Like I said, I think teaching is one of the hardest professions in the world. I spent years of my life in the construction and the blue collar industry, and I see how hard brick masons work. They work significantly, quote unquote, harder than electricians do. Electricians can literally charge 3 or 4 times more per hour for their services. So the idea that working hard is going to make you wealthy is a misnomer, and it's one of those kind of things that if you honestly think along those lines, it's going to keep you broke. Working hard and working smart, however, will get you wealthy. So as a result of that, um, thinking that working hard is a symbol and is going to be something that's going to basically make you rich is not the recipe for success. As I stated earlier, as in all things, do your research. When it boils down to it, if you do your research on a respective subject, you can figure out ways to work hard and to work smart. Now, I am by no means saying that you should not work hard because I do truly believe that there's an element to putting in your 12 to 14 hours a day, depending on what it is, so that you can kind of get to the next step. In my personal professional life, I work about 11 hours a day, and then when I get home, I spend about 3 or 4 hours on my side business and with my kids and my wife and my family. So there is an element where you're gonna have years and decades of your life where you're essentially on the grind. But don't ever mistake activity with achievement, and don't ever make the mistake of thinking that by quote unquote putting in your hours for a very challenging job that that's the best way to make your money, because it's always a more efficient and a more intelligent way to do something. And by doing that, it should hopefully take you to the next level and to the next steps. So keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind. So don't make the mistake of thinking that working hard is essentially going to build you wealth, okay? So additionally, on top of that, please everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to answer. This is a live Q&A, and I enjoy going back and forth with my subscribers and my listeners, and essentially helping you guys with any kind of financial questions that you may potentially have. All right. So the next financial habit, everybody, that is keeping you broke essentially is obsessing over small wins and ignoring the big losses. So before I go any further, once again, it's your boy Chris. Please subscribe to the channel first off, but also hit that super chat. Please support the family, to feed the family fund, i.e., my family. In addition, on top of that, everybody, please hit that super chat button. All right. So obsessing over small wins but ignoring big losses. I'm always amazed at this. Well, I see a person get out of their leased Maserati or their leased Camaro or their leased sports car, go into Starbucks, and then brag about saving $3 or $4 on a latte. Now you are leasing a sports car that you can't afford. And I know that you can't afford it because we hang out, we work together, and things like that. But then you're bragging about basically saving $3 or $4 on a coffee. It makes literally no sense. And I see this kind of thing in everything. When I see a person essentially buy a home that they flat out cannot afford, and then when they get into that home, they basically cut the subscription to Netflix. So you're spending $4,000 a month on a house, and you can really only afford $2,000 or $3,000 a month on a house. And then you're basically proud of yourself because you just cut out an $89 TV subscription every month. Make it make sense, people. At the end of the day, ignoring major losses so that you can get and then bragging about small wins is something that unfortunately a lot of times we were bred to believe in capitalism. And a lot of times it makes much more sense to say, okay, what is the biggest drain of my income, and cutting that out of your life. And then the frivolous stuff, the Netflix subscriptions, the Hulu subscriptions, buying a $3 latte or $7 coffee every morning, thinking that's a win. No, you want to cut the major expenses. And if you still want to get the $7 latte, who cares? If you still want to get this $59.99 YouTube TV subscription, get that then. But having these massive, major income draining things, such as thousands of dollars of credit card debt, such as having a house that you can't afford, such as living in a place that you can't afford, doing that kind of thing is literally one of the dumbest things that you can do financially. By the way, everybody, this is a live chat, so please ask the questions, fire away. If you have any questions, living in a trailer park is cheaper. Yes, you are correct, Bunny Man. That is absolutely true. Living in a trailer park is cheaper. It's not necessarily my preferred form of living, but you're right. That is correct. I will say this about the whole trailer park thing, though. This is something I see even in that community. Why is it that you'll see a person living like an $80,000 trailer park, but they drive a $75,000 Ford F-150 pickup truck? I see that all the time with guys that I work with. I'm like, dude, you can't afford that. I know you can't afford it because you're an electrician. I know exactly what we make. So what are you doing? So yeah, it's an interesting two-way street. In general, I find you have to take pride in obviously what you're buying, what you spend your money on, but make smart investments and make smart purchases. What you can do, and by all means, everybody, please know your budget and live by that thing. If you book a financial one-on-one session with me, the first thing that I literally do is we go over your budget. And I'm amazed at how many people that I run across. And this doesn't matter whether it's a person who's a brick mason making $40,000 a year, a teacher making $45,000 a year, or a neurosurgeon making $700,000 a year. I see it all the time in Miami. It does not matter how much money you make. I see so many people that are essentially making one income, but they're living up here on top of it. And it's once again, it's just completely income uh, this is completely income neutral because I've seen everyone from every socioeconomic status, life and status doing it, where they'll make $10,000 a month, but they spend $12,000 a month. So at the end of the day, once again, make sure that whatever you're spending your money on, make sure that you are not overspending. And also, on top of that, celebrate your wins, but don't celebrate your wins by having massive losses. I noticed that told about trailer parks and expensive cars. I've been seeing folks drive big body, brand new Mercedes in the trailer park. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I've driven by the hood and everything, and I've seen guys with, I can't believe people are still doing this in 2025, but they have essentially Camaro on 22s and they're living in front of the projects. Or like I said, guys that I work with and everything, I know what basically what part of the city they live in, which is a trailer park, admittedly, and they're driving $75,000 Ford F-150s or used or used pickup trucks, and the pickup truck costs more than the trailer park that they live in. It makes no sense. And what's even dumber is that I'll see these same people essentially brag about basically bagging their lunch every day, but they're driving a car that they can't afford. So I'm like, all right, man, which one is cheaper, saving $9 on lunch every day or driving a car that has a car note of $2,000 a month and you only make $1,500 a month? It's like, make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. These are the kind of things that, like I say, you have to be intelligent about what you do. Once again, everybody, my cash app is $CHRIS P is in preacher 485. Okay, hit that super chat button. Support your content creators. Okay, support your content creators. So yeah, so, like I said, everybody, working hard, working smart, but make sure that whatever you're doing, you are not obsessing over the quote unquote small wins while you're doing dumb things with your money. Okay, and keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate that, Bonnie. Keep the questions coming, everybody. Bunny man, I like that. Anyone else? Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So yeah, next thing I want to talk about, the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is using your home as an ATM. Now, this is one of those things that's flat out dangerous because at the end of the day, home ownership is one of those kind of things that in my community, the millennial and the Gen Zers, there is actually a drive right now to actually say whether or not you should actually even own a home in the United States of America. And the purpose and the process behind that is this: if you invest, let's say, into a real estate investment trust, and it returns on average 10% every year, and the home that you own only returns 5% every year, does it make more sense to live in an apartment and then basically take the money that you're not spending and put that into your real estate investment trust or into the stock market, or should you buy a home? If you're the kind of job where, so you're in IT, you're in cybersecurity, you're in digital marketing, things of that nature, and all you need literally is an internet connection to do your job, does it make more sense to live in Mexico City and essentially live off of Mexican pesos while you're making US dollars, or should you stay in the United States? Because if you can live in a three-bedroom, let's just say a house or apartment in Mexico City, only spending $700 a month, but you make $100,000 a year as an IT professional, I can see the intelligence of not buying a house in America initially and then moving to Mexico City, living there for about 10 or 15 years while you're essentially stacking your money in US dollars. I know people that do that. The digital nomad lifestyle is very real. And I think it's a case by case basis as far as whether or not you should buy a home. Having said that, I do think there are a lot of benefits, everybody, to home ownership. For one, you get equity, there's tax incentives and things of that nature. And generally speaking, if you hold real estate long enough, it does make you money. So I see both sides of the coin. But one of the financial habits I find, generally speaking, is keeping a lot of people broke is they look at this idea that owning a home is like a ATM. And if they ever need money on going that nice European trip, or they essentially want to basically stun at the club, or there's a major purchase they want to make, they just take equity out of their home and throw it towards something that's going to basically make them money. I find that is very dumb because banks are very open about and very upfront about essentially offering people HELOCs to unsuspecting homeowners. And by doing that, with the rise of homes all over America, this is becoming more and more prevalent. So if you pull equity, everybody, out of your home to buy a new car, you are essentially going to, so that you can go on a trip, that is essentially going to come back and get you. Hard to outwork inflation. We need to make our own currency, our own medium of exchange. These Federal Reserve notes ain't it. In regards to outworking inflation, inflation is about 3% every year. So if you have any investment that's making you more than 3.1%, technically speaking, you are outworking inflation. So for instance, if you're going with one of the reasons why I absolutely tell people do not put a lot of money, quote unquote, into traditional banks is because traditional banks, on average, only give you about 0.01% in returns on your investments. So in other words, if you put $10,000 into a bank and come back 10 years later with a 0.001% interest rate, you will only have $10,010. In other words, in 10 years, you would have made exactly $10 by putting your money into a bank because the brick and mortar bank only pays you 0.01%. Whereas the inflation over that same 10-year period is 3%. So that $10 that you, so which means that the inflation would have basically risen to about $13,000. In other words, you put $10,000 into your account 3 years later, it's 10 years later, it's worth 10,000. It's the inflation has made it 13, has made that same buying power $13,000. So in essence, you lost $3,000. So as a result of that, you want to make sure that whatever you are investing your money into, the interest rates are higher than 3%. And whether that's real estate, which historically is about 4.9%, whether it's a high interest account, which you can find online for 6%, or whether it's an index fund, which has averaged about 12% over the last 10 years, or whether it's gold, precious metals, something like that, which has averaged about 7.5% over the last 10 years. Whatever you're investing your money into, just make sure that you're above that 3% typical inflation rate, and you're good to go. So, Bunny Man, when you said that, I agree with you partially on that. Okay. Um, in regards to in regards to we need to make our own money and make our own currency. I don't really know how you can go about printing money, if you will. I do agree that everybody should have some kind of a side hustle or some kind of know some kind of trade or have a college degree so they can make money. And I always tell people try to figure out a way to get to six figures as fast as possible because unfortunately, if you are a man, we are to a large extent judged by how much we can provide. So make sure that you are figuring out different ways to to boost your income. But to get back to taxes, got to get paid on these earnings on that 3%. Yeah, you're right, they do. But as a result of paying those taxes, that's one of the reasons why I say make sure that your whatever you are investing into is as high above 3% as possible. I mentioned earlier that there is a movement in Gen Zs in the millennial community to say that buying a home does not make any sense. It makes more sense to buy an apartment and then find the difference between what getting a home in an area B and then take that difference and basically invest it into the stock market. So, for instance, let's say you live in a $2,000 a month two-bedroom apartment, okay? And let's say you can buy a home in your area for $4,000. Well, if you buy that home, you have to get HOA. You have to pay HOA fees. You have to pay taxes on it. You have to basically pay property taxes. You have to do all the maintenance things of that nature. And you need to deal with the other isms that come with owning a home. So let's say instead of you spending $4,000 for that home, every month you're dropping about $4,500. If you get in a two-bedroom apartment and you're a minimalist, you're only spending $2,000 a month. As a result, you can take that $2,500 difference and invest it into the stock market, invest into a business, invest into real estate, invest into the real estate investment trust, invest into an ETF, and all those things are just going to naming, typically speaking, average over 6 or 7%. So if you are your inflation is only 3%, but you're investing into things that make you what stocks you recommend buying. So if you're investing in things that make you essentially more than 3%, you are winning in capitalism. In regards to what stocks that I'm buying, I have a different podcasts and channels about that. Do me a favor, Bunny Man. Definitely reach out to me, www.therealfinancipation.com. And I'll also go to therealfinancipation@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll put the description in there below. And when you do that, I'll basically have a one-on-one session with you, and I'll walk you through, depending on what your socioeconomic status is, the amount of money you make, and how much money you're willing to invest. I'll walk you through the types of investments portfolio that I personally go with, the type of fund strategy that I go with, and things of that nature. In regards to your personal investment strategy, I would probably recommend a 4 to 6 fund investment strategy for you. But it really all depends on kind of what you're willing to invest, what percentage of your income you're willing to invest, and more importantly, how much debt you have in your life and how much you're trying to get out of it. So yeah, if you would like to book a one-on-one session with me, please go to my website, www.therealfinancipation.com, or go to therealfinancipation@gmail.com and send me an email, okay? And I'll walk you through all that kind of stuff. But I would like to have a one-on-one session with you before I can just go start recommending different stocks and different exchange traded funds, different real estate investment trusts, different bonds, different trusts, and things of that nature to invest into, okay? So yeah. Um, As I stated earlier, do not look at your house, everybody, as an ATM. And a lot that's a mistake that I see a lot of people doing. Yeah, Bunny Man, if you got any questions, bro, just let me know, okay? I will definitely put the I will definitely respond to that, all right? Yeah, just book a one-on-one with me. Send me an email. We'll discuss it kind of offline about different investments that you go with, and the ones that I went with. In general, I'm very happy with my wife and I's financial portfolio, as well as the stocks that we purchased, as well as the investment trusts we've put our money into, and things of that nature. Our brokerage accounts are doing very well, even in all these tariffs and all this stuff that's kind of going on. So yeah, yeah. In regards to also everybody, please support your boy. Hit that super chat. My cash app is $ CHRISP485. Additionally, please support your boy. Hit that super chat, or else support your content creators. All right. So the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is tying your self worth to things that you own. This is one of those things that hits a lot, hits very close to home because being an African American, a kid who grew up basically just blasting hip hop, one of the messages of hip hop, and it's kind of the same thing in country music as well, is we put your worth, is that you're taught to put your worth to what you own. And it's not just music either. You take a look at old shows like Lifestyles of Rich and Famous, MTV Cribs. If you take a look at how any reality TV show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it basically shows how people live. You're going to see individuals getting out of getting out of big body Benzes, getting out of Lexus, getting out of Porsche, getting out of Maseratis, getting out of Jaguars with Gucci, with Dolce Gabbana, with Birkin bags, and all kind of stuff like that. Essentially buying up essentially walking into extremely lucrative stores and buying the entire store, or going into a bar and buying the bar. Essentially, just this lavish lifestyle, which makes it seem like because they are quote unquote buying things that half of them can't afford and half of them are leasing and renting, that it's somehow bringing value to their life. And that's a mindset that I want you to kind of get out of and everything. One of the things I find is very interesting about, let's say, like a Jay-Z or like a Shaq or somebody like that, is that if you notice, the more money these individuals make, the I don't want to say poorer, but the less wealthy they actually look. Think about it. If you take a look at, as I said earlier, if you take a look like the Robert Smiths of the world, this guy's worth $14 billion. He literally walks around all day in a suit and loafers. And it's not a designer suit. It's not $800 Gucci loafers either. It's literally just an average business looking suit with regular shoes, regular loafers. But the guy's worth $14 billion a day. Take a look at Aliko Dangote. He's the richest black man on earth. He's worth 30 billion with a B dollars. The guy owns essentially the entire concrete industry in the country of Nigeria. And if you see him, he's literally always walking around with his traditional African garb. No jewelry, no entourage, nothing. Same thing with Jay Z. Take a look at Jay Z. You're not seeing the fronts anymore. You're not seeing the long gold chains. You're not seeing any of that stuff. The guy literally just walks around in t-shirts, jeans, and a hoodie. I got my hole in my shirt. I got a hole in my shirt now. All right, now I will say this: I don't want you to walk around looking poor, but I've always kind of been more of a quiet wealth type of dude. I like the idea of people seriously underestimating my net worth, and I want to keep it that way. And I think that's honestly, generally speaking, a metaphor to life and everything. Because if you attach your self worth to the things that you own, what happens when you get fired? What happens when you get unemployed? What happens when your wife leaves you? What happens if when you had a bad turbulent financial period of your life and you lose those quote unquote things? And there is something to be said about people who unfortunately have to constantly wear the flashiest jewelry, have the biggest pickup truck, have the nicest cowboy boots, and live in the biggest house because they're essentially trying to overcompensate for other things. And in general, I find the happiest people, they're the ones who attach their net worth to the people who, to their kids, to their families, to what they do for a living, and in some respect, to what they built into their accomplishments. I find just in general, those people are significantly more happy with their lives than those who attach their stuff and their net worth to toys. Because if you're attaching your net worth to things that you own, what happens when you no longer own those things? Keep the questions coming, everybody. Keep the questions coming. In regards to wearing having a hole in your shirt, I personally, Bunny Man, would say wear shirts that don't have holes in them. But it's actually funny you say that because me and my boy were talking the other day about that, and he was just like, the more wealthy he has become, his general his what he wears generally every day is his Jordans, a decent pair of khaki shorts, and a fitted black tee with a V-neck. And no matter where he goes, essentially, he looks like he belongs. Same thing. If he's stepping on a night out of town, basically put on a nice pair of jeans, a very nice pair of loafers, and his fitted black V. No entourage, no sponsors and anything like that. No large labels on any of his clothes. Essentially, he wears functional clothes that fit his body and essentially look nice wherever he goes. and it makes it very easy to essentially blend in regardless of where you are. I like that. So the next financial habit I would say everybody that you should avoid that is keeping you broke is tying your self worth to things that you own. Because the things that you own, like I said, they could fire can take them away, a bad partner can take them away, the 5 finger discount can take them away, and things of that nature. So avoid that at all costs. Okay. Please hit that super chat button, everybody. Please support your digital content creators. My cash app is $CHRISP45. Also, if you want to book a one-on-one session with me, please go to www.therealfinancipation, it's like it's spelled on my hoodie.com. Additionally, also go to send me an email at therealfinancipation@gmail.com. Okay. Yep. In reality, everybody, true confidence, once again, it does not come from what you own. It comes from who you are. And always keep that in mind. All right. So the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is lifestyle creep. And this is a very big one because this is one that I've actually fallen into myself, and it's something that my wife constantly reminds me of about not doing. So, what exactly is lifestyle creep? Also, everybody, please ask your questions. This is a live session. If you have any financial questions you want to get answers to, please send them my way. Okay, please send them my way. Lifestyle creep. That is the bugaboo. That is a big that is the issue that I find happens to a lot of people. So let's say you're a cat fresh out of college, right? You're making $45,000 a year. You're living in the metropolitan area. Let's just say like Philadelphia, right? So say making $50,000. So say you're making $50,000 in Philly. You got roommates. You live in the hood. You're hearing gunshots at night. You're hearing police sirens, things like that. But you're making $50,000 a year. You got your college degree, to say in business, and you're kind of working the thing. So 3 years later, you get a pay raise for $20,000. So that pay raise, you now are making $70,000, and you're living in Philly. So because you now are making $70,000, you start taking out prettier women. You start going to nicer restaurants. You buy a nicer car. You buy a Lexus, and you basically say, okay, I no longer want to live in the hood. I want to live in a much nicer environment. So you basically start upgrading your life. But before you realize it, because you're upgrading your life, that $70,000 you make is no longer enough. Now you got to drive Uber Eats. You got to basically pick up a job on the side. You got to start doing Uber. You got to start doing Lyft, and your lifestyle has increased because you essentially want to start making because you make more money. You want to basically stunt and you want to start doing nicer things. And there's nothing wrong with liking nicer things. But what you notice is that when you were making $50,000 a year, you actually had more money than when you were making $70,000 a year. Why? Because when you were making $50,000 a year, you were living on a $45,000 a year lifestyle. When you started making $70,000 a year, you bought a nicer car, you bought nicer clothes, you started taking out different types of people, you started going to nicer restaurants. So now instead of spending $70,000 a year, you're spending $80,000 a year, and you're $10,000 in the hole. So how is it that you went from basically making $50,000 a year, where you made less money but you had less debt, and now you're making $70,000 a year? You make more money but you have more debt. The answer is simple. It's called lifestyle creep, and I want you to avoid it. And this is one of the hardest things imaginable to do because as you start progressing throughout your career, this is whether you're an electrician, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a carpenter, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor, it does not matter. When you start progressing throughout your career, you start seeing your friends live in nicer houses. You start seeing them buy or lease nicer cars. You start seeing them go to fancier and fancier restaurants. So you're like, I don't want to get left behind. I want to basically be like my friends. I want to be. This is the social circle that I'm in. So I think you want to basically go where they go, do what they do, buy what they buy, and dress how they dress. And that is literally one of the most dangerous things that you can do because that is what keeps most Americans poor. If you start making $70,000 a year and you used to be making $50,000 a year, as hard as this sounds, keep living on a $50,000 a year salary and lifestyle and invest that other $20,000 into real estate, into land, into property, into the stock market, and into appreciable assets and not liabilities. That is literally one of the cornerstones to building wealth. And when I do my financial one-on-ones with people, and also when I look at some of the biggest mistakes that I made financially in my life and in my journey, that was a mistake where people basically get pay raises instead of putting that $10,000 to $15,000 pay raise towards a bigger investment. They instead put that pay raise, everybody, towards bigger stuff and nicer stuff. They put it essentially toward liabilities and not toward assets. Lifestyle creep. So as you progress throughout your career, and once again, this is whether you're blue collar, whether you're white collar, whether you're brown collar, it does not matter. Make sure that when you get promotions, you maintain the exact same standard of living that you had before you get that promotion. Now, at some point, you are going to get to a point where you've saved enough money, you've invested enough money, and you essentially have gotten out of debt, so you can start buying the nicer cars, you can start buying the nicer clothes and things like that. But this is years down the line. Literally, spend the first, I would say, 5 to 10 years of your life trying to maintain the exact same standard of living that you got when you got out of college, within reason, of course, or when you first graduate from trade school, within reason, of course. And don't increase your lifestyle with every financial jump that you make. And if you can do that, if you get that kind of financial discipline where you are making $100,000 a year, but you're still living like you make $60,000 a year, the world will literally be yours before you know it. I see it all the time where you'll go out with your friends and everybody's complaining about the economy, they're complaining about tariffs, they're complaining about things like that. And you're just kind of sitting back quietly, not really saying anything because you know that you've done the correct things from a financial standpoint and from an emergency fund standpoint to build your wealth. By all means, everybody, please keep asking the questions. Okay, this is a live session, so I thoroughly enjoy asking any financial question that you have, and I thoroughly enjoy kind of pointing you to the directions and things that have kind of made myself and my wife financially stable and wealthy. Okay, so ask away, ask away. This is a live Q&A session. All right, this is a live Q&A session. So that's what I'll say in regards to the debt thing. Avoid anything, everybody, that is lifestyle creep. And when it comes to lifestyle creep, make sure that whatever you are doing, you are avoiding that, because that is literally the thing that I find that separates the financially free and the financially emancipated from the financially impoverished. And once again, this has literally nothing to do with how much money that you make. Perfect example. How many professional athletes, how many professional hockey players, how many professional baseball players do you know of that went broke less than 2 to 3 years after they retired? How many professional singers, how many professional country music singers, how many professional entertainers do you know that went broke after they had one or two really good quote unquote albums? And the reason why is simple, because they tried to maintain a lifestyle that they flat out could not afford, and they were making $1 million a year, but they were spending $1.5 million a year. It's the same thing in the corporate world. How many lawyers or doctors or engineers you know that make over $100,000, over $200,000 a year, but they're spending $250,000 to $300,000 a year? I see it all the time in Miami. So make sure that you are not you're not falling victim to lifestyle creep. And this is the one I want to harp on, because this is the one that I see that literally can change the entire financial trajectory of your life if you can abide by it. If you spend a good 10 to 15 years of your life, everybody, living on one income that you made that was comfortable, and then as you start making promotions and making more money, not increasing your lifestyle too drastically, and kind of maintain that exact same standard of living, and you do it for about a decade, you are going to be amazed at how quickly you hit $1 million in your portfolio. Exactly, keeping up with the Joneses. And even with the keeping up with the Joneses and stuff like that, literally avoid lifestyle creep, because if you can do that, I'm telling you, that is the legit gold. That is the legit road to financial freedom. And that is the golden road that's going to take you there. Okay. So the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is outsourcing your financial future to professionals and to financial advisors, essentially, that are putting you into terrible investments. So this one is kind of funny because a couple years ago, I was talking with my boys and we were all in grad school and stuff like that, right? And when I was at Drexel getting my MBA, the grad school that I went to was night classes. So essentially, I was working as a mechanical engineer at a local mechanical engineering firm in Philly, and I basically worked from about from 7 to 5, and then from 6 to 9:30, 3 nights a week. I was in grad school at Drexel University. So shout out to my Dragons. And while I was doing that, as is generally the case, you start bonding with your classmates. So all of us were working professionals. I had lawyers in the class with. I had a Blackhawk pod that was actually in my classes. There were lots of business majors when I was getting my MBA. There was one or two medical professionals, and all of us were working professionals that basically went to grad school at night to get our MBAs and get our finance degrees and stuff like that. So as is naturally the case, you start hanging out with your coworkers or people that you kind of vibe with. So we were basically at a lounge one Friday night, and as we were sitting there talking, somebody was telling me, "Hey, yo, Chris, I met this investment guru. The guy is returning an insane amount of returns every month, and I really think that you should invest with this guy." Now, this dude basically does not take new people, because I like you and I know you really well. This guy says he's willing to take you on exactly as far as helping you to invest your money. And real talk, I was not something I was all that interested in. But the guy's like, you know what do I have to lose? So basically, the guy told me, Chris, you have to give him $10,000. If you give him 10,000 of your dollars and everything, he's gonna tell you what investments to make. He's gonna tell you when to buy and when to sell. At the last possible second, I did not actually go with this investment guru, and I was so glad that I didn't. And the reason is simple: the friend that was trying to introduce me to this quote unquote rock star financial investor type, it eventually ended up giving this person over $40,000, and he had lost all of it. And the reason why he lost all of it was because this guy was basically a day trader who put him in some extremely risky investments. And what was interesting was when I eventually told my boy, no, I'm not gonna give you the $10,000. I'm not interested. I got called basically stupid to my face by the guy. I said, you're basically missing out on a once in a lifetime opportunity. I instead took that $10,000, invested it correctly, and more or less right now, I have made over $80,000 off that investment by just investing into boring, low cost, broad market ETFs. Whereas my friend who went with this quote unquote superstar rock star investment guru lost over $80,000 over the exact same time period. So what's the moral of the story? There's a lot of them. First and foremost, if anybody's telling you there's some rock star, superstar investing, they can basically beat the market. My advice is simple: run. And the reason why is simple: 96% of investors cannot beat a total stock market index fund over a 15-year period. Warren Buffett can't even beat it. He's probably the Michael Jordan slash LeBron James of the investing community over the last 60 years. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is also this: if a person is telling you, give me five or $10,000 and I'm going to teach you the secrets to success, my advice is simple: run as well. Because the secret to building money is very simple, everybody. Find a career that pays you a lot of money. You spend significantly less, about 25% less than you actually make, and you invest the remaining 25% into a boring stock or into real estate or something of that nature, and you just let that thing grow. That's the secret, everybody, to building wealth, and you have to do this for decades. There is no golden bullet. There is no silver bullet. There is nothing that's essentially going to basically make you a millionaire overnight. So avoid any of that get rich quick crap. So if you have some financial advisor telling you what to invest into, what's also interesting is that 90% of financial advisors, get this, don't even invest into the things that they recommend their clients to invest into. So that's essentially like having somebody cook you food and they refuse to eat it because they think it's going to poison them. If you have a financial advisor, everybody, I want you to think about that. 90% of them don't even invest into things they tell their clients to invest into, and the reason why is because they know they don't work. And what's also interesting is this: if you ask financial advisors why they're even actually advising you to invest in certain types of real estate, certain types of stocks, certain types of index funds, certain types of mutual funds, and things like that, it's for a very simple reason: the companies that they work for literally tell them what to tell their clients to invest into, and it continues the cycle. So one of the main things that are keeping you broke, everybody, is putting your money into bad investments. Now it goes back to another point. If you're putting your money into bad investments, what are putting your money into good investments? By all means, everybody, this is a live chat, so please continue to fire the questions away at me. I thoroughly enjoy answering any question that you have. So what are some good investments to make? Generally speaking, I tell everybody you're not really going to go wrong if you go with artwork. You're not really going to go wrong if you go into the stock market. You're not really going to go wrong if you buy land. God makes more people; He does not make more land. And generally speaking, with real estate, if you buy real estate and you hold it long enough, you generally won't go wrong with that. But like everything in life, there's a sequence of operations to when you should do this. I personally am not a very big fan of people buying real estate. They have a lot of high interest debt. I say get the high interest debt out of your life first. I personally am not. I personally am not a fan of people doing nothing down real estate or anything like that, or getting into real estate they can't afford, because if they do that, that's a direct backdoor way into bankruptcy court. And I personally am not a fan of just giving some random person that you don't know because they've been recommended to you tens of thousands of your dollars and investing into something that you don't understand. Because when you start investing in things that you don't understand, you're setting yourself up to to lose millions of dollars over the long haul. That's essentially what I would say. Once again, if you would like a deeper analysis in regards to what's up, man, what's your channel about? Just not turning in. So my channel is called Financipation, just like I spelled on my hoodie, just like I spelled in that sign. And essentially, I teach you how to make money, how to invest money, how to save money, how to build generational wealth, and more importantly, how to financially emancipate yourself from generational poverty. I drop content every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I talk about a range of topics and everything that goes from stock market investing to real estate to retiring abroad to retiring in America to masculinity to essentially building generational wealth, being onto how selecting the right partner essentially is going to basically fast track your path to building wealth. Okay, yeah, definitely point and go crazy. Exactly, absolutely, bro. Ask me any type of question. This is a live Q&A session. This is a live Q&A session, and please subscribe to my channel. As I said, I drop weekly content, and I go live. Try to go live about once or twice a week. Also, everybody, please support your content creators. Hit that super chat button, and my cash app is $CHRISP485. But yeah, point go crazy in general. Yeah, general point go crazy. Yeah, I talk about a wide variety of things, and just in regards to stock market investing, as I said, real estate. I talk about essentially entrepreneurship, the importance of starting businesses, how to dominate corporate America, whether you want to go white collar or blue collar, what are the best careers to get into. I think in general that the entire concept of financial freedom, financial emancipation, or financipation, it goes so deep and it's a lot more than just what business to start, what stock market, what hot stock to buy, and essentially what investment to make. It's an entire lifestyle. You talk about building credit. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually funny about building credit. There are so many different strategies you can do to build credit that no one knows about. First, I'll talk about the credit utilization ratio. If you have a credit card limit of $10,000 and you're spending $7,000 every month, even if you pay off that $7,000 balance every month, you are still not doing the things you can do with your credit card. Why? Because 7,000 divided by 10,000 essentially 70%. If you have a credit utilization ratio of 70%, that's terrible. So what that means is that you want to essentially increase your credit. You want to increase your credit card balance and try to spend less money because the credit utilization ratio is literally 30 to 35% of the points that go into your credit card. Grow your own food, and that's actually I'm gonna come back to that point as well, Bunny. But let me talk the point. Go crazy first. If your credit is shot, bro, do this. First and foremost, start using less credit cards. That's the first thing. Secondly, pay your credit card off every month. Third, I want you to call your credit card tonight and tell them I want that you want to raise your credit limit. And the reason why is because the higher your credit limit is, and the less money you're spending on your credit card, it basically decreases your credit utilization ratio, your CUR. And if your credit utilization ratio is less than 30% of your credit card balance, that's going to give you a 35% increase in your credit card, in your credit score. And start using less credit. What I always tell people is this: if you have a credit card problem, first and foremost, create a budget. And the reason why a lot of times people have credit card issues is because they're spending money that they're not aware of. They're basically spending money at the club as far as taking people out. They're spending money as far as too many subscriptions. I'm working on dispute and don't know if you deal with that, trying to get two collections removed. In regards to that, I would say just call your credit card company and just kind of talk them through it. If you have a history with them, for instance, I've been with the same credit card for almost 20 years. I tell them straight up, I don't like this charge. It shouldn't be here. Get it off my account or I'm going somewhere else. And they're like, yes, 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 Mr. Chris, we agree with that. We'll take it off. But I had that relationship with them because I have really good credit. But more importantly, I've been with them for like 20 years. And if you have a long credit history with a certain company, disputing those charges, as long as they're legit disputes and you're not actually buying things and then trying to get rid of it because you don't want to pay for it, that's a good way to get it off of your credit score. Okay, so I would say call them tonight. Yep, it is literally that simple. Additionally, point go crazy when you call them. Additionally, point go crazy when you call them. Also say also I want to raise my credit limit because if your credit limit is to say once again is $10,000, if you can get them to raise it to $15,000, do not spend $15,000 of credit. Put $15,000 on your credit cards. What you should do is keep the exact same expenditure you've done every month, and because $15,000 is bigger than $10,000, your credit utilization ratio and the percentage of money that you put into your credit cards is going to be lower every month. Pay your credit cards off every month. Dispute charges. Ask, can they raise your credit card limit? And once again, pay your credit cards off every month. What I do is my credit cards due the 21st of every month. I make sure that 100% of them have been paid off by the 17th or the 18th of every month. And by doing that, my credit utilization ratio is low. My credit card balance is zero. And any fraudulent or weird charges I see, I give them a call directly. In regards to the other questions you asked me, sir, um, grow your own food. It's actually funny you say that. My wife right now is getting me into a lot of that. So right now we're growing broccoli, we're growing cilantro, we're growing asparagus, we're growing bok choy, and some other stuff. So it's kind of dope because the food that you grow tastes so much better than the crap you buy from the store. And being a guy, I grew up in four murder capitals: Philly, New York, Philly, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Compton, and Newport News. It's really weird because I absolutely did not grow up in any kind of environment where you typically grew your own plants. But I'm actually starting to do that now. And I won't lie, it's very therapeutic. After a long, hard day in the office, after a long, hard day of being an entrepreneur, nothing is cooler than coming home constantly and kind of working in your garden. I know it sounds really weird to say, but it's the honest truth. Additionally, also, I'm a very big proponent of my Second Amendment rights. So I actually want to get into hunting and fishing in life as well. But I find that when you grow your own food and more importantly, catch your own food, whether it's fishing or trapping or whatever it is, or firing your firearm to bring down game, that is literally the best food you will ever eat. The cilantro from my garden tastes 1,000 times better than the cilantro from Giant or Walmart. So I agree. Growing your own food is actually another element to building wealth. I'm probably going to at some point going to start dropping more content about like just kind of uh, I would say not necessarily farming or anything like that, but I am actually going to start dropping a little more content about, okay, if you want to grow your own food, if you want to get into fishing, this is kind of something that you want to do. I use all my debit charges with my credit card and pay it off. I'm always strapped. It will peel a cap quick. My advice, brother, if you are strapped, make sure you're legally carrying because you do not want to get caught with something you should not be legally owning. And if you do, it is real. Depending on the state that you live in, that could be a decision that comes with 10 or 15 years behind bars. So if you are carrying, my advice is you better be doing it legally. Once again, I am a legal gun owner. I am not a fan of guys that are strapped and they don't know what they're doing. They're not licensed and they are essentially carrying things they should not be carrying legally. Okay. I use all my debit charges with my credit card and pay it all off. Cool. If that's the case, then it sounds to me like you also have an issue. Point go crazy, and that what's probably the case is that your credit utilization ratio is too high. Once again, I'm gonna go back to that same analogy that I had. If you are spending $9,000 every month on your credit cards, and your credit card limit is $10,000, that means you have a credit utilization ratio of 90% because 9,000 divided by 10,000 is zero point 0.9 or 90%. $9,000 is 90% of 10,000. Well, your credit utilization ratio makes up 35% of your credit score. And because of that, if your credit utilization ratio is more than 30% of your credit card balance, your credit card is going to tank. So, depending on what your credit card limit is, call them and say, look, I want you to raise my credit card limit because you're spending $9,000 every month and your credit card limit is only $10,000. I want you, once again, to give them a call. I want you to give them a call and I want you to essentially say, raise my credit utilization ratio to like $20,000. And obviously, if you have a credit utilization ratio of $20,000 and you're spending $9,000 every month on your credit cards, that means your credit utilization ratio, everybody, is only 45%, which still isn't good, but it's much better than 90%. That's why I love Ohio is open carry. Yes, it is open carry, but once again, it's open carry, but you have to still be legally licensed to carry your firearms. So just because it's open carry does not mean that you can basically walk around packing and if the cops pull you over or something happens and you're not licensed once again to legally carry whatever it is that you're carrying, you will be spending possibly decades of your life behind bars. So once again, I am a huge proponent of the Second Amendment. I think everybody should legally carry who can legally carry. Make sure you are doing it correctly and make sure that you are doing it legally. Simple as that, everybody. I'm not a fan. Once again, I grew up before different murder caps. I've seen drive-bys. I've seen people shot directly next to me. I got recruited to join gangs. If you're gonna carry, make sure and use your Second Amendment rights. Do it legally. Okay, do it legally. Next, the next financial habit, everybody, that is keeping you broke is overly complicating your investments and making them harder than they have to be. It's funny, when I was in grad school, right? One of the things that we talked a lot about was I thought that's exactly what it meant. I don't have a CCW, and I was able to walk in and buy one. All right, cool. You have a CCW, cool. But once again, check the local laws of your state. I don't live in Ohio, but I'm fairly certain that if you are legally carrying something and it's not registered, or you're legally carrying something and it's not registered, or you have not been properly trained to do it, there could be some legal ramifications of doing that. So check your laws, okay? Check your laws. And I can say this with the CCW. They actually have apps and everything that says depending on what state that you live in, whether or not you're allowed to legally carry, depending on where you go. So if you live in the state of Florida, but you're trying to go to, I don't know, Maryland or New York City, whatever your license in Florida is not necessarily, you don't get reciprocity to some extent to where you were going. And right now, the law is a little weird with this about with the change in Supreme Court. But once again, everybody, you do not want to get pulled over by a police officer and you're carrying something you should not be carrying, and you have bullets in your chamber because literally, depending on the state that you're in, you can literally get years in prison per bullet in the gun. All right, I'm gonna stress that. Make sure you're doing your research on whatever that you're carrying. Okay, and that's whether it's an open carry state or not. Now, to get back to my point. In regards to, and get back to my point, in regards to financial habits that are keeping you broke, make sure that you do not have an overly complicated portfolio. When I was in grad school, I was running across guys that had portfolios where they were basically like a 13 fund investment strategy. If you're not familiar with what a 13 fund investment strategy is, imagine you're investing $1,300 per month from your income, right? And every month you put $100 into different funds. Now you can automate it and things of that nature, and you can do different things to make it a lot less complicated. But in general, if your money is going to 13 different places every time you get paid, or even worse, you are manually putting your money in 13 different places every time you get paid. That's a very, very complicated portfolio. So whether you're investing in bonds, in real estate investment trusts, in mutual funds, in trusts, in gold, in the platinum, in the silver, and things of that nature, into bonds, and you're doing this every time you get paid, that is an overly complicated investment strategy. And studies are showing that the overly complicated investment strategies, they typically are the ones that actually cost you a lot, that actually make you less money. So don't invest in an overly complicated investment strategy. I personally have a four-fund investment strategy, and I do that for a very simple reason. I know exactly how much. I know exactly what markets, what indexes I want to follow. I know exactly what markets I want to follow, and more important, I know exactly where those markets are going. I know what their 50 to 75-year track record is. So don't try to have an overly complicated investment strategy. Okay. Generally speaking, people that try to beat the market can't beat the market almost 100% of the time over a 20-year period. So find a very simple, non-complicated investment strategy that you can go with that's going to essentially work for you. Okay. Next, also everybody, please continue to fire the questions and everything. Please continue to ask away. And this is a live Q&A session, so continue to ask me your financial based questions. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy helping you guys in regards to what your financial questions could possibly be. Okay, so the next financial habit that is keeping you broke is thinking that because you have a high income, that automatically means you're rich. This is one of the things, like as I said earlier, I see so much in Miami, and I see so much in just general in major metropolitan areas, and that's kind of being pushed, generally speaking, throughout our culture. Where if you make a lot of money, you are rich. If you don't make a lot of money, you are poor. And the reason why I say that is because if you take a look at any type of entertainment, television, things like that, the things that are being peddled to us is you got a lot of money, spend it on stuff, spend it on on liabilities and not assets, spend it on bigger cars. Second Amendment was for police and politicians trying to treat us like children. Government, not my boss or our parents. Got you. There are a lot of factors behind the Second Amendment. That's like a third rail politic kind of conversation. All I'll say is this: if you want to legally carry and you want to have you want to have your Second Amendment rights, you need to be a law-abiding gun owner. And for those of us who are law-abiding gun owners, it's always a much better idea to know exactly what the laws are in your respective state. Okay, and as I stated earlier, you do not want to be in a situation, once again, where you get pulled over by the cops, or you're in a situation where a police officer is checking you and you are carrying something that you are not legally licensed to carry. Because if you do, there's this thing called federal prisons, and this thing called Fed time, and there's this thing called prisons, and that's a place you're going to be living for a couple of years. So once again, if you are legally carrying, and I'm once again very pro Second Amendment. I mean, I'm a capitalist. Make sure that whatever you are doing, you know your laws, you know your local laws, and more important, you know the laws of your state, whatever that you own. The next financial habit that's keeping you broke, everybody, once again, is thinking that having a high financial income is going to make you wealthy. You see this all the time, everybody, as I stated a little early in this live session, with professional athletes, with ball players, with hockey players, with baseball players, where they make millions of dollars every year, and sadly, 5 years after they retire, they're on ESPN crying about being broke. And that is not the place you want to be. Seriously. So a lot of times, as I said earlier, when I'm doing my one-on-one sessions with people, it always is interesting to me how I'll run across individuals who have make about $65,000 a year, right? But they've lived beneath their means. They've invested their money slowly but quality for decades into passively managed index funds, into their 401k, into their Roth IRA, into the HSA. And by the time they're about to retire, they have about 750 to three-quarters of a millions of dollars in their retirement account. But I'll do those same one-on-one sessions with a lawyer or a doctor that's a couple years younger than the same individual that spent their entire life making about 150 to $200,000 a year, and they're terrified. They say, "Chris, I'm 49 years old. I want to retire in about 10 years, and I've saved less than $15,000 in the bank." And it blows your mind because you say, okay, how is it a teacher that makes $65,000 can be 50 years old and have almost $1 million in their retirement accounts, but a lawyer or a doctor that made over $200,000 a year that's the same age can only have about 15 to $20,000. And the answer is simple: lifestyle creep, and they essentially bought things and lived above their means. Don't let it be you. The next financial habit, everybody, that is keeping you broke is once again assuming that because you have a lot of money, because you make a lot of money, you can spend a lot of money. And as I said earlier, do not fall victim to that lifestyle creep. Keep the questions coming, everybody. Once again, keep the questions coming. I thoroughly enjoy answering any question that you have. Government is not my boss. Bunny man. Says you got Sidewalk University, right? So I am curious, Bunny man. What do you do for a living right now, bro? What do you do for a living? Blue collar, you white collar, you an entrepreneur, or what do you do? What do you do? Next financial habit that is keeping you broke, everybody, is trusting your feelings over basic math. This is more for my investors and for my stock market investors specifically because I see this happen a lot where they have a system in place that works. Every month they're putting about $2,000 into a good stock, whether it's an index fund, whether it's a mutual fund, whether it's a REIT, whether it's a bond, whatever their investment strategy is, right? But they're watching C-SPAN one day, they're watching Fox Money one day, they're watching CNN one day, and somebody tells them this is the new hot stock. You need to put $2,000 or $10,000, whatever you put, invest every month into this new hot stock because it's the new AI, this is the new meta, this is the new thing that's gonna blow up. So you need to put all your money into this stock. So instead of putting their money into the exact same stocks they've been doing for like the last 10 years, they instead spend the next 4 to 6 months investing their money into this quote unquote hot stock that they heard about on C-SPAN or Fox Money or Mad Money or whatever it is. And as a result, they spend the next 6 to 7 months of their financial investment career losing money. Why? Because they invested with their feelings and not with facts. And doing that kind of stuff, everybody, is terrible. From a financial perspective, I find this happens a lot where people they'll get emotional with God, they'll get emotional with what their friend who's a financial advisor at the country club told them to invest into, or they'll watch something on corporate media and they'll start investing into that. And by doing this, it allows them to unfortunately miss out on the tremendous power of compound interest, but they'll spend about a year investing into, for lack of better word, the wrong stuff. So don't let it be you, everybody. Don't let it be you. And lastly, the last financial habit that is keeping you broke is not asking yourself what true financial freedom or what financipation actually means. So when I first got into on my financial journey, I said, okay, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have by the time I don't know, but I'm 50 years old? What kind of lifestyle do I want? Do I want to be mentoring kids in the hood? Do I want to be playing ball? Do I want to be kickboxing and boxing on a beach in Southeast Asia somewhere? What did financial freedom look like for me? And when I realized what financial freedom looked like for me, I worked backwards to kind of get to that point. That's what I want you to think about. I want you to figure out what does financial freedom look like for you. Is that living in a hunting lodge in rural West Virginia and essentially trapping and shooting and things like that, and basically catching food? Is it you living on a beach in Southeast Asia somewhere with a few $1 million in the bank? Is it you living in Latin America, in Colombia, in Santo Domingo, in Mexico City with a few $1 million in the bank? Is you basically living in the inner cities and basically mentoring kids and teaching them to make better choices? That's where you came from. It doesn't matter. Whatever your quote unquote goal for financial freedom is, that is what I want you to live your life towards, okay? And that is where the financial freedom comes into play because financial habits that are keeping you broke a lot of times is thinking is not having a long-term idea about what freedom actually looks like, because freedom is not, despite what they show in the media, it's not driving a brand new car, it's not wearing flashy designer clothes, it's not making it rain at the club every Friday night. For your financial freedom, everybody, should be something that puts you in a state of life where you're living the exact way you want to live and you don't have to worry about money or have to worry about issues in regards to going broke and having to go back to work again. That is what I want you guys to start building towards, okay? Because that is the reason why I actually call my channel Financipation, financial emancipation, financial freedom. Because I want you to be financially emancipated from poverty, okay? So everybody, once again, my channel, I drop free content every Sunday. I drop a new podcast every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I teach you how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, how to build generational wealth, and how to financially emancipate yourself from generational poverty. You can book a one-on-one session with me, everybody. Before I go, if you guys have any questions you want to ask me, or any financial based type context you want to get into, I'm also gonna start dropping more content about fishing and growing your own food because there is an aspect to that. Me and my wife, we actually bought some strawberries the other day, strawberry seeds, and I think I paid like maybe $3 for the seeds, but I'll probably get about $150 for strawberries from the seeds that we plant. So just growing your own food is always kind of generally the way to go, and that's something that we're gonna start doing a lot more of in my particular household. Okay, so yeah. So ask questions, everybody. If not, I'm gonna bounce. It's been real. It's been real tonight. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate it. All right, with that, it's your boy Chris. Please hit the super chat to support your content creators. And it's your boy Chris. I'm out. Peace. Peace. My cash app is $CHRISP45. Peace. Peace.